Greetings, everyone. This is Payman, your host, your friend, your coach. They have a very special guest for you, my dear friend and alumni of my Profitable Parks Academy from the class of July, August of 2024, Mr. Anthony David Hawes from beautiful South Africa, and is coming to us today. And I get to know him a bit during he attended the 5-day challenge back in July, and then he signed up for the academy. Get to know him, working with him closely. And he's doing a lot of good things, an amazing story, and that's why he's here today. So, David, my friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Payman. It's good talking to you. And one of the things I love about the world we live in and this podcast thing is you sitting in a different hemisphere to me, because I'm in Johannesburg, South Africa.
I'm in Vietnam. So Vietnam is yes, a different hemisphere, yes.
Different hemisphere, different continent, different
yes.
time zone.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, this is actually sometimes where, particularly the people my age, have a challenge with technology. And when you understand technology and embrace it, wow, it is so powerful. I'm blessed in that I am smart enough and intelligent enough to literally say, I need to embrace technology. Now, let me clarify that. Doesn't mean I'm a programmer. Not at all. I do not write one line of code. But what I do is I use the systems and the mechanisms that are out there. Exactly like your academy that you do for podcasts. You know, it's that kind of thing where how many people, Payman, do we know that said, yeah, I want to run a podcast and I want to do a podcast. And I need to thank you because of joining you and your coaching and your education and your knowledge and your skill and your experience and the course you put together. This episode will be episode number 44 of my podcast.
Magic number.
Yeah.
448
so,
being the number of, yeah. 8 being the number of prosperity, abundance, endless opportunities. So I like that.
Beautiful. And you know what? You know, it comes to me clearly. I had a lunch yesterday with one of my mentors here in Johannesburg. He's an 80-year-old man, and he said something very interesting. I asked him the question. I said, are you where you want to be? And he said, yes. And I said, please unpack that. And he said, I started planning where I am today 24 years ago. Wow. In fact, he said he started planning it longer. And then we got into the process of how long have you been on your journey of personal development? And he said, that started even longer than that ago. But it was interesting where he said, I am in a position where, look, he's a time runner. He's got, I don't know if you know, in South Africa, we have a very famous race, which is called the Comrades Marathon. Okay. It's an ultra marathon. It's, I think, 84 or 94 kilometers.
Wow.
And this mentor of mine has got his green number, meaning he's done it more than 10 times. And when you do it 10 times, when you do it 10 times, they give you your race number becomes permanent. Nobody can have that number.
Wow.
And he said something, Payman, to me yesterday, which I'm still processing in my head. He said to me, David, I've started doing this. I can't remember what it was. He started to doing this one process, knowing where I'm going, but not having crystal clear definition of the destination. And I said to him, wow, that is powerful, because what it means is his mindset, and that's literally my business that I do, activate your millionaire mindset. His mindset is in that space where he says, I'm going to action this thing without knowing the exact crystal clear destination where I'm going. And when you think of that, Payman, you deal with that, I'm sure, when you're talking to people about starting a podcast. What is their biggest challenge? Starting, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Always. Our biggest challenge in anything that we do is that first step. For so many reasons. Look, that first step, do I take it in? Yeah, exactly. It's mindset.
It's all here.
Do I take it? Yeah, it's all. I say to my students, it's all about 6 inches. And the guys go, oh, yeah, baby, 6 inches. And I say, no, not that 6 inches. This 6 inches, the distance between your ears, it's all in your brain. And the powerful thing about what my mentor was telling me, he's got this mindset of saying, I start something, I start the journey, I start moving in the right direction before I have crystal clear idea of exactly where I'm going. And I love the way he put it, because he said, my destination when I do this will morph. One of my students this morning, when I shared it with him, he said, what you're doing is you're actually aiming for a moving target. And I like that, because a lot of people, you know, you deal with this. I want to get everything perfect before I start. And I say to my students, I see you agreeing with me big time there. How many people are in that space, Payman?
Oh, pretty much a lot of people. Pretty much everybody. That was one of the things that was holding me back. There are so many reasons. Imposter syndrome, not good enough, and people wanting to be perfect. And one thing I learned, if you wait to be perfect, you will wait forever. Instead, fail fast, fail forward. Take action and then learn from the steps, readjust, and keep moving.
You see, that's exactly what my mentor is saying. He's got this mindset of saying, I'm in that mindset of saying, I start something without having that crystal clear, look, I know where I'm going. I know the direction I'm going. But the end goal is, and I love the way my student put it this morning, it's a moving target. And how many people are comfortable aiming for a moving target? They say, no, I want a static target. No. And I always say this, I've got an expression that I say to my students. Perfection is an illusion.
Oh, yes.
Why? Because there's always room for improvement.
That's it.
In anything you do. And I'm a biker, and I remember having a conversation with one of my biking friends, and I said to him, tell me one motorcycle that you have owned, that you have accessorized and blinged to the degree where you were not able to do one more thing to it. And he said, David, never. Yeah. Look, motorcyclists and people who understand that thing, because there's always something else you can do. You know, there's a panel here, there's a this, there's a that. The manufacturers as well bring out more bits and bobs for that reason as well. Absolutely. And it's that kind of mindset where you say, I can always improve this. And it's a moving target. And it was just so profound when he said it to me. So when I go into the classroom, because I go into the classroom as I mentioned earlier, today week with my students for 4 days. And the interesting thing about my course is I do the goal setting and the where you want to go in about near the end of the session. And a lot of people say, whoa, why? You got to set your goal in the beginning. And I say, no. Why no? Think about this. When you get a GPS, okay? When you get a GPS and you say to them, I want to go to this place, what is the first question they ask you? Where are you?
Where are you starting? Yes.
Exactly. And that's what I do with my students. I say, you need to find out, you need to know, who am I and where am I starting from before I can go in a right direction.
That matches very well with what I always talk about and I teach in my academy. Everything I do is clarity is the name of the game. You need to identify your zone of genius. What do you bring to the table? What can you offer? What gifts? What wisdom? Take those and then offer them to the right person.
I love that, because you see, that's also what I do as well with my students, because that clarity, Payman, as you know, is what makes it happen, or what makes us entrepreneurs, the heart-centered entrepreneurs, stand apart from the rest of the businesses and the entrepreneurs that are there to say, what am I here for? You know, the toxic entrepreneurs are here to say, I'm just here to make a quick sale. I'm not here to make a difference in your life. And that's where exactly what you do by doing your podcast academy and me with my Activate Your Millionaire mindset. Our objective is when we are working with our students, and let's be real, we never actually ever end up finishing with our students. Why? Because it's a constant game, as you. And I love what you said when I was on your course. You look at your early podcasts and you go, "Holy smoke!" Why? Because you've evolved. You've got better. When you were doing them, they were brilliant.
And I want people to see the progress, the journey, because even the greatest company in the world, Apple, started in someone's garage. The first iPhone is a piece of crap compared to what we have now. So I want them to see that, understand it, and see a real life example. Let them learn from it. Because if you're waiting to have a perfect studio, perfect hairline, perfect smile, and all that, it's gonna happen. And if you were to start that way, you will lose a lot of people because people cannot relate with you. You want to be as relatable as possible. People are craving authenticity.
Yeah. I think Payman, that's one of the powerful things about your podcast, in that you literally say you need to show up in the best version of you. Because I love that expression. I can't remember where it came from. Is somebody saying nobody does you better than you.
That's it. You know yourself better than yourself,
Sure. And I like that, because whoever you are, and that's where we get back to that point of clarity. When you literally know who you are, the pain points you're covering, what you solve, for who. And I had one of my, because what I do on my Activate Your Millionaire mindset, it's about your mindset and your health. So it's a two components to it. And in my health space, every first 3 days of every month, I do a 3-day water fast. So I've just finished. And one of my students, I said to them, I'm now taking this free option and I'm now charging 197 Rand, which is it's under $10. It's about $8 or something, US dollars, to put it in real money or a currency most people can relate to. And one of my students came back to me and said, a whole lot of chit. So I literally said to the person, when you don't see the value, this is not for you. Whoa. The student of mine came back to me and said, "Oh, David, you're very abrupt and you're very rude." So I said, that's me. So I said to her, thank you for your feedback. And I realized the way I operate and what I do doesn't resonate with this particular person.
Absolutely.
They need more nurturing and more, almost this, because the group, it's a WhatsApp group, and it's a group. It's not personal. And I'm not talking to you one-on-one. And this particular person literally needs somebody to be talking to them every day and holding their hand. And I'm saying, that's not the student I'm looking for.
Or maybe you can,
I'm not in that space.
If that's one thing you want to do, you can offer like VIP one-on-one and of course charge accordingly.
Correct. I do that, but I do that with my course, my Activate Your Millionaire mindset, where I do, at the moment, I'm in the classroom with a group of people. Now, obviously, when you want to do that one-on-one, of course, the price goes up.
Sure.
And then, like I mentioned to you earlier, I also do it online, because the first thing somebody's going to say one-on-one is, David, I don't live in Johannesburg, South Africa. I live in wherever they live. So I do, like this, like I mentioned right in the beginning, is technology. So what we can do is we do a 1 hour a week on Zoom. And then we do that process like that. So that's why I hear you, and I need to thank you for that, because what it does is it gives you these options where you showed us in the course the various ways of doing it, running that challenge and then running the workshops and then doing, I don't know if you run a one-on-one. I don't think you're in that space where you want to run
I
one-on-one.
do have now one-on-one clients. I had one VIP client in October, and I'm going to have another one next week.
interestingly, well done. Interestingly enough, my one mentor who I'm working with in January to write my book. By the end of January, my book will be written with the cover, with the sales funnel, with everything. And that's my book is actually going to be my course, the contents of my course. So literally what I'm saying is when you can't be face to face with me on Zoom, buy the book, go through that process, get the results. And then a lot of people will say, but David, I want a little bit more hand holding, or I want a little bit more of your FaceTime.
Yes.
Then of course, then you, as you know, Payman, you want FaceTime with me. That means you got to put more skin in the game than a book.
Totally. Yes.
So it's that process moving forward. And this particular mentor of mine is extremely successful. I said to him, it was a very interesting thing. I said, let's collaborate in writing my book and we share the profits 50-50. You know, you do all the marketing because that's his skill set. And he said to me something which was very humbling. He said, I only do collaboration with companies that do over $1 million a year. And I said, well, okay, that discounts me at the moment. I'm not in that space yet. But what he says is, getting back to that sort of group and one-on-one, in the one group I was with, he said, do you do one-on-one sessions? And he said, no.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it was a fairly small, intimate group. The question was, why not? And his answer was, yeah, because it's a very good thing. You know, particularly a lot of coaches want to do this one-on-one story. And he said, I can get more reach. I can reach more people. And I can make more money for himself, obviously, because he's a businessman. He's a heart-centered entrepreneur. But he says, I can reach more people, have more impact, earn more income by doing it in a group than doing it one-on-one.
Absolutely.
But I do hear you. And I also have that option for one-on-ones. But that's not my focus because the group, you know, as you understand with the group, you do it right. You got a good product. You do the accountability and the accountability sessions. And my students are getting incredible results to the point that my one student got such a good result that him and I are now collaborating.
Absolutely.
His skill set is selling. He is a master salesman. So what he's doing is, in fact, this course in a week's time are his students that he put in the classroom for me. So he's bringing the students, I'm doing the work.
That's a brilliant partnership, yes.
And I realized as we start doing this, because we've actually planned for 2025 to have one session a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, because of the results I've got from my students, that all I need to then say to them is, when you're getting this result, who do you know that would also benefit from this?
Yes.
So they start bringing in a referral. I have a referral fee for them where I will pay them in hard cash.
Sure.
And then as this starts happening, I realize that as it gets, I don't know what month will start happening, but more than likely the sales funnel will start getting filled up just with referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And then the option is to run to 2 workshops a week or go to the online, because the online is 1 hour a week. And think about that. I could do comfortably. I mean, you know what it's like working with students, Payman. A lot of people who don't understand this say, oh, you can do 8 hours a day. No, you can't. You can't do 8 hours. I agree. I see you agreeing with me immediately, because anybody who's worked with students and put that effort and that energy into the lesson, you can't do 8 in a day. I've done 3 in a day, and that was quite taxing. Look, you will build that muscle, but I'm saying that's why with doing this 1 hour a week for 10 weeks with students online, I could do literally 3 people a day, Monday to Friday. Saturday, I'd have to think about, maybe, well, Saturday's a work day for me. Sunday, I don't work. And I had a beautiful thing. I went to a retreat because I'm a Catholic, and I went to a retreat here. That's part of my church, and it was very good because that's why my course this time is 4 days. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And the priest on the retreat literally said, "You do not work on Sunday." That's
Yes.
why in January the course is now gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So you still need to take, for those people who are joining, my students that are joining, they still need to take 2 days leave.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, Friday. I don't work on a Sunday. So I've
Neither do I.
literally just said, that is my day. Urgency. But
Yes.
Payman, you understand, you and I in a similar business where we are teaching people.
Mm-hmm.
We are transforming their lives.
Activators. I call it
We
activating
don't
gifts.
generally, exactly. We generally don't deal with emergencies, do we?
Absolutely. Beautiful. David, love that. That's a beautiful, powerful start to this podcast. But first, I want to get to know you better. What I like to ask my guest is, we're going to talk about your business, your impact, and all that good stuff later on. But what I really want to know first and foremost is who's David, first and foremost, as a human being, as a person, and as a man? Tell us, who's David?
Okay, you want me to tell you my life story?
In a nutshell, yes.
Okay. Here's the nutshell version.
Mm,
I'm 64 years old. I'm blessed. And let me unpack why I'm blessed.
please, yeah.
At 64 years old, I have zero health issues.
That is the most greatest blessing you can have.
Physically and mentally. Doesn't mean that I don't deal with stress, but
Mhm.
I have mechanisms and processes how to deal with stress. And a lot of people's stress in their life comes from what they worry about, what never happens,
Mhm.
or they take on other people's stories
Yes.
wrongly. So at 64 years old, I take zero medication.
Amazing.
I take supplements. I have struggled. I thought about it. I sat down and I said, when have I actually dealt with pain, physical pain in my life? And I haven't. I've never dealt with chronic pain in my life. Look, I've had some challenges. I fell off my bike and I injured my ribs one time. But I've never dealt with a chronic pain for a long time. Never had that problem. In my 64 years, I have never lost consciousness.
Wow.
I've also never spent a night in hospital,
Wow.
ever.
Amazing.
I've had no operations. So from a health point of view, I'm very blessed. I'm the youngest of three boys.
Wow.
So I've got two older brothers. They're both still alive. My parents are born and bred and live in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Amen.
I'm an African. A lot of people look at me when I say that I'm an African. They say, but you're the wrong color. You're not understanding. I'm an African.
Yeah.
I'm third generation South African, meaning my grandfather was born here in South Africa. My father was born here, and I'm born here. So any of my kids, not that I've got any kids, it's unlikely at 64 I'm going to be having kids, but any of my kids would also be born and bred South African. I grew up in an era, look, I was where we put the first man on the moon.
Yeah.
We did, interesting enough, in country, the first heart transplant.
Wow.
Now they are done, I mean, around the world, more than likely, while we're speaking, Payman, somebody is having their heart transplanted. That's how sort of mainstream medicine this is. I also grew up in that era when the bands were proper bands. They were groups of people. They were not one singer with a backup. They played
Platoon, yeah.
instruments themselves. I mean, I grew up with Queen and Kiss and Uriah
Oh
Heep
yeah.
and Mick Jagger and the real proper band. Look, those guys and people like Brian Adams. I've seen Brian Adams live. George Benson. I mean,
Hmm.
some of these names that I'm saying, some of the younger viewers are going to say, hang on a second, let me
These are
Google these
classic
people.
Eternals. Yeah.
And it was, oh, by the way, I grew up in the age of vinyl when we actually played LP records. I don't know if it's happening in your country, but we've got. Are you having that in your country? Where there's this whole retro thing where people are going back to vinyls.
Yes, because the current music industry is a dire lack of talent. So more people are going. I don't even listen to current music. I have no idea what's hot. I listen to the old classics. One of my favorite singers of all time. One of the first songs that I really started falling in love with, me as a kid growing up in France, not speaking, understanding a lick of English, was this amazing, beautiful anthem by Johnny Clegg. Asi bonanga,
Oh, yeah.
asi bomange la cuna, la fe cuna, la wafe la cuna. I don't even understand what that means, but I just love it, you know?
Gee, it's that good that you can actually sing it word for word. I've actually seen Johnny Clegg perform live,
Oh, wow. Is it still
and I
alive?
don't even. What's that?
Is it still alive?
No, he recently passed away
Oh, God
from
bless his soul. Wow.
leukemia. But in the past, I've actually been to concerts where he's actually been on stage.
Oh, yeah.
When you need to listen to his one song called Impy.
Okay, let me write this down. How do you spell that?
Impy. IMPI.
Okay, I'll look it up.
IMPI. Impy literally means it was a fighting warrior in the wars literally in the sort of decade before us, when the Zulu nation was first formed. It was their fighting warriors. It's a
Ah,
beautiful song.
yeah, I just look
And
it
he's
up.
got some,
Gonna watch it after this call. Yeah.
yeah, IMPI, Johnny Clegg Impy. It's beautiful. Listen to I think there's also a YouTube thing of it, and you see him dancing. And he dances exactly like the Zulus dance.
You know that song
And that,
Asip Bonanga? I was in Malaysia last week with my girlfriend. She's Malaysian. I don't think she's ever heard that song. I was just playing it and singing alone, and she asked me, "What's that song? That's so catchy. I love it." First time ever. You know, it makes me feel good because that's an incredible, it's honestly one of the most beautiful songs ever. Even if I don't understand the African part, but it's just so freaking catchy. Since I was a little boy, you know, I was 7, 8 when that came up in the late 80s. And it's always been one of my favorite songs.
wow, Payman, that is so powerful. And I hear what you're saying. At the moment, there's such a huge lack of talent because they got these one man and one woman shows that think they compared to our guys in the past. Yeah.
No.
Look, Johnny Clegg. I don't know if you know his story. Very interesting story.
Mm.
Very powerful story because he started his music and he started playing in the township when I was a white Zulu. The fact that just that you didn't even understand the language, but it was the beat and the vibe and the words to the. I mean, I don't even know that song off by heart like you do, because obviously, Payman, it resonated with you, Bob, in that
The,
space.
the, the
So let me
wording,
continue my story.
the wording of that song literally makes your soul, your skin vibrate. Even if you don't understand, it goes directly to your heart and your soul. It's
Now,
one of
I've
those
got a song
songs.
like that. I've got a song like that as well, which resonated with me. It's a West African or North African singer. I've actually got it. It's called Dibi Dibi Day.
Okay.
Just exactly like that. That I heard it. I was actually walking in a flea market in Cape Town many years ago, And I heard this song and it just touched my soul to the point that I actually went to the person that was playing it and saying, what is that song? And literally that process. So yes, those songs and those things that touch our souls. So let me continue my journey.
Please, please.
I grew up in a very blessed era. I'm going to say something, the next few statements, a lot of the newer viewers are going to go, what? I grew up in the era where there was no television in our household. No television. TV came into South Africa when I was in about grade 9 or 10. We as a family only got television in our household when I was in grade 12. So consequently, my go-to space and my chill out space and all of that, I don't watch television while I'm eating breakfast. I grew up, firstly, without television. Secondly, I grew up without computers. No computers. And thirdly, I grew up without a cell phone.
Oh, yes. I miss those days.
Now, for a lot of people, look, I do embrace those things now. Interestingly enough, you come to my home, I don't have a TV in my home. My education and my entertainment is YouTube.
Yes. The only time I watch TV is whenever there's a good football game or a documentary or a good classic movie from the past. I don't watch TV. I don't watch the news. We have a TV at home in Canada, but we don't have cable because nowadays you can subscribe to whatever channel you want to watch, especially maybe sports channels and YouTube. I have YouTube Premium. I can watch anything I want, podcasts, documentaries, anything that really uplift me as opposed to bringing me down.
You see, Payman, that's where we were talking earlier about technology. That's where the technology in our world has moved. And I went to a business gathering in Germany in 2019, just before COVID. And on stage was Pitbull. I don't know if you know Pitbull.
Yes,
or
of
Mr.
course.
Worldwide.
Yes.
He was
Some
the one
people
guest.
say I look like him. Some people call me Pitbull, so that's okay. I know.
Hey, this man's story is flipping incredible. And what stuck out, and why I'm saying it, and this change is, he has had his music downloaded 19 billion times. Not million, billion. And he said, here's the kicker. I don't make 1 cent from that.
Yeah.
So the people in the music industry have had to pivot. So what he's done, what does he do? He opens up his own label. So anything that he does publish goes through him. And that's how he makes his money.
And it gives him visibility to go to concerts and stuff like that, promotions, partnerships, and so on and so forth. Yes.
So you know that process of growing up and doing that thing, and then I was an average student that's the only sort of thing where I'm average. I came out of finishing my schooling, not really knowing what I wanted to do, but in that space I was blessed because in South Africa at that time we had conscription into the military. Why? Because we were fighting a war on our border with Namibia and Southwest Africa. So they needed foot soldiers. So
how long was the military service back then? Mandatory? 2 years. Wow.
2 years. 2 years. I had no choice. I had to go in for 2 years. And I was blessed. And I only realized it now because when I went in, I became a medical orderly.
Ah, okay.
I did spend 2 tours of duty in the conflict zone. Now, I'm eligible to join the Moth Society, which is about ex-soldiers and that. And I have no desire to do that because I said to the guys the other day when I was talking to one of them, I said, in my military career, which was 2 years, nobody ever shot at me in anger, and I never shot at anybody in anger because I was a medic. I worked in healing people, not killing people. So from that space, I was very blessed because I learned a lot about, I did the admin, I worked in the dressing room, I worked in a pharmacy, and my last section, I actually worked for a dentist.
Oh, wow.
I actually was his assistant. So when I go to the dentist these days, I understand. I don't have that fear. I know a lot about what's going on. So I literally went from school to the military, which was a good thing, because how many kids at the age of 17 and 18 really want to know what they want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Very few. And then I followed my father's footsteps. And to cut a long story short, the career I'm doing now, which is teaching my Activate Your Millionaire mindset, is career, not job, 11. I have changed career 11 times.
Wow.
I've worked in a chemical laboratory. I've worked as a medical rep, and I worked in selling disposable equipment. It wasn't drugs. I was not a drug dealer, even though it's legal. I was not a drug dealer. It was equipment.
Okay.
And in that space, I had the privilege of actually witnessing with my own two eyes a triple bypass surgery.
Wow.
Yep. To the point where I can say to you, I could have stretched my hand up and touched the guy's heart. I was in surgery. Yeah. And my boss, he organized it for me in that space, because part of what we did is we sold products for theater. So he said, David, you need to understand a little bit about theater. So that's why he organized. And he said to me very simply, there's one rule when you're in theater. And I said, what's it? He said, don't touch anything.
Especially not hearts, eh?
Yeah. No, it was quite cool. So literally I walked around and watched, and the operation literally lasted about 6 hours. And I was there from the time they wheeled the patient into theater to when they wheeled him out. Here's the interesting thing. The surgeon that actually did the connecting to his heart was in theater for about 30 to 45 minutes.
Wow.
The opening of the chest, the taking the vein out of his leg was all done by other doctors. And the surgeon literally arrived when it was time, did the work, connected it up. They started the heart again, got it running, checked that it's working, checked there are no leaks. Surgeon hung around for a little while. Then he literally said, okay, we're good, we're happy, your work's good. And he literally said to the other two guys, okay, close up, I'm out of here. And he left the building. So that was the one career. I've worked as a Forex trader. So I understand trading. So we know when people say, oh, I'm into Bitcoin and I'm making money, I say to them, what's your strategy? And they say, what do you mean, what's my strategy? I'm doing this because my neighbor made 20,000 Rand from Bitcoin. I said, that's not a strategy. You're gambling.
And hoping.
And they look at me like I'm an alien. So I understand trading. And here's the challenge, Payman, with trading is you see these ads, particularly on social media. I made $200 in 1 hour of trading. Now that's 100% correct. He did make $200 in 1 hour of trading. What he's not telling you is he's been a professional trader for 15 years. He's also not telling you that he's trading a fund of 10 million US dollars. And he's also not telling you that his last 5 trades were losers. So what do people do? They get that $200 in 1 hour and they say there's 8 hours in a day. That's how much I'm going to make. 5 hours, 5 days a week. That's a week, a month. And then they convert it to their money and they say, I'm going to be a gazillionaire in 2 months. Doesn't work like that.
No.
So I understand trading. I've worked on ships. I was a deck officer on the deck of a ship. I worked in the oil and gas industry.
Wow.
So I was on a ship where the person that was being paid for the job that was being done was the saturation diver who was 70 meters below the surface.
Wow.
So we were working in the oil and gas industry in the Gulf of Mexico when Hurricane Katrina came through and literally bent all the oil fields down. We were underwater solving that problem.
Wow.
And the customer was paying for the saturation diver to do the work that he was doing.
Wow.
He had a vessel above him with 120 people supporting what he was doing.
Wow.
Why? Because the amount of money that was being charged for him to do this was stupid amounts of money.
I can imagine, especially during a hurricane. Yes.
Well, the hurricane was done and all the damage was done, and the guys were saying, we still want this oil. We need to fix this thing. We need to get it sorted and happening. So I worked in that industry for a while, and then I got married.
What specifically were you doing in oil and gas?
I was on the ship because remember the diver is in one place doing his work, and I worked on the ship above him to keep it in one place because that ship's got to stay stationary. Can't be running around the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. My position was called, it's a dynamic positioning operator.
I worked in oil and gas as well in Canada, in Western Canada, but I worked in NDT. Are you familiar with NDT?
Yes, non-destructive testing.
I did radiography. Yes. It was fine. Did it for 2 years, but then got laid off, and the rest is history.
Oh, look, the oil and gas industry, a lot of people don't realize, have got so many different specialities in it because it's so vast and so complicated. Well, I mean, you worked in the oil and gas industry. Did you work offshore? Did you work onshore?
No, I onshore in the Canadian oil sands in Alberta.
Okay, so then when you take that, what you're doing on the land, and you take it to the sea, there's some very different challenges and problems that you run into when you're in the middle of the ocean.
Absolutely, yes. Can imagine.
Because I remember the one engineer saying to the captain, "We're going to do this, 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 and this," and the captain looked at him and said, "Go and rework it." And he said, "Why?" He said, "You've got 3 points that are going to be worked by a crane. The vessel has only got 2 cranes. How are we going to do this? We're in the middle of the ocean. We can't just pull in a mobile crane and lift that thing and do that." He said, "Go and rework it." So that was very interesting. That, by the way, the oil and gas industry was the best paying one that I did.
Oh yes.
Yeah, literally, it was brilliant. The money there, I still look back on it. It's stupid numbers. Why? Because it's blood money. I worked for 6 weeks on the vessel, 6 weeks off, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. I used to say to people, I get 6 months leave a year. They say, "Yes, I'll take that." And I said to them, "You're forgetting the downside. The other 6 months, I'm the other side of the world, and my life just stops then. My life at home stops." That was part of the challenge of that thing. So that was my best paid career. My most glamorous career was I was a dive master on a liveaboard dive boat in the Caribbean.
Wow.
So the guests used to come down generally from North America, come down to the Caribbean to do scuba diving, and I was the dive master on the liveaboard dive boat.
Wow, amazing.
We used to go out for a week. It was a liveaboard, so they used to sleep there, and we'd wake up in the morning, and we were on a new dive site, and I'd brief them and help them get in the water, and that was my job. That was my most glamorous job.
Amazing.
So I have changed jobs and careers quite extensively. I've also done 2 network marketing companies, one in health and one it was a shopping network. So I understand network marketing. In fact, part of my health space is I've got a product which is phenomenal in that space as well. But I don't do much recruiting there because I just do the product, because the product's got incredible results. Because a lot of people, when you mention to them about network marketing, they go, "I'm not interested." But when you actually understand the business model of network marketing, it is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. There are challenges like every industry. You know, you and I are entrepreneurs, and we make our own opportunities and our own business, correct?
Totally.
And the smart people like myself, when my one student said, "Wow, I'm getting most incredible results," and I know him, I know his skill set. That's why we started collaborating. So us entrepreneurs, and you understand that in that you need to build a team. You cannot do this on your own. Why? Because not only business, but our modern world and technology and is just that complicated, Payman, that we're not able to do everything ourselves. It's not possible.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the big one that's coming up? I just watched a YouTube video the other day and they said there's going to be 3 economies in the future. And then the people obviously say, you know, America and China. Yeah, that's one. The next one's going to be Europe. And he said the third one is going to be digital. And I went, what? An entire economy? Well, think about it.
Yeah.
Payman, you're part of that.
Online, when you buy something online now with cryptos and even more, it's going to be amplified even more.
Yeah. Well, think about this digital economy. It's not run on geographic areas. It's not run on political things. Exactly like your service and my service. What is it about? It's about solving a pain point of our students.
Mm-hmm.
What pain point do you have? That's what I can solve for you.
Yeah.
So it's not about where you live or what political party you follow. It's about, do you want to step into that space?
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and that was like, and it made a lot of sense because our digital world, and that's where a lot of people are possibly not understanding. Some people are. The cryptocurrencies are the beginning stage of removing the fiat currency. In the future, look, in my country, because South Africa is a very interesting country. We are a third world country with first world technology. That's reality. Our politicians might not agree with me.
I've seen that in many other similar countries, like in Southeast Asia. When I first went to Thailand back in 2010, the technology was way out of even Canada back then. It's something that you have to see it with your own eyes to believe it. When I was telling people in Canada, and that was way back in 2010, they would not believe it. It's impossible because Thailand is a third world country. Well, it's not a third world country. And the technology is way more advanced, more convenient and practical than in Canada.
Correct.
Yeah.
You see, that's where, when you understand this digital economy, you can uplift your citizens and your people and your business by bringing in digital things as opposed to social things in the world. And think of how many people now are working remotely or online compared to, I mean, how long has this industry been going? And I love the way Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi is saying, the game's changing. The space in the digital space is just expanding bigger and bigger. It's not getting smaller.
Nope.
That's why they're doing this thing and they're sharing because they're saying, guys, we need more people. We need more Paymans. We need more Davids because there's such a demand out there for this that, guess what? I don't have a challenge with other. Look, I'm not a coach. I facilitate your transformational learning. But I don't have problems with coaches. Why? Because somebody who wants a business coach, don't come to me because that's not my specialty. Exactly. Somebody who has an addiction. I did a podcast with Hamish, and he's our addiction man. So anybody who has an addiction, go and talk to Hamish.
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying there are coaches, and I put it in inverted commas, in specialities that I don't deal with. I deal with your mindset. So what I do is it's when you look at it, it's the default DOS program. So I'm getting that default DOS program working correctly, which affects everything. And then you can take it into whatever aspects of your life you want to take it into. So that's why I'm saying I don't have a problem with other coaches and other people. We need them. Why? Because, in fact, my student that I'm collaborating with has been on a personal development journey for the last 14 years. He's done multiple other courses. And when he came to me, interesting enough, I'd worked for him and given his students my course, which was the sort of version 5. I'm on version 10 now. And they got such good results that he actually said to me, David, I need to see what your course is about. Now, what do most bosses in that space say? I want you to do it for free. I said, no, I don't deal with that bullshit. You've got to have skin in the game. So he paid me full price.
Good.
And he got such good results that he literally said, wow, everybody needs this course. And his business has pivoted because his business is sales and he teaches people. He's got a very successful business of 10 years, good money, people, facilitators working for him doing the stuff. And he literally said, I've got a flat tire. My business is working, but I've got a flat tire. I'm not getting the traction and going where I should be going. I know it should be better and things should be working better for me. I've got a flat tire. And that's when he joined. And the results he's getting are just amazing. Look, I'm looking at, I like what you're saying with your podcast. When you interview the right people and they then they go from being interviewed to being your students to when they're in the right space, collaborating with it. Because that's also what I'm looking for. Because I'm saying, I say to my students, I know quite a bit, but I don't have all the answers. And I'm very open to collaborating with people that have, and I thought about it because I'm at that space in my life, particularly when I meet a woman. What do most women ask me? What do you want from me?
What do you do?
And the obvious, yeah. Well, why they ask, what do you do? Because they want to see if you in a space that you can actually afford it. But what do you want from me is literally, and most of the time, what is the obvious answer? Sex. And I'm saying, my answer is quite simple. I want you to teach me something because I'm a student. Teach me something. And they're going to say, what must I teach you? I say, well, you might have a skill set that I don't know. And you might be, let's say, you Italian, and you can teach me how to cook a certain Italian dish that I have no idea how to cook. Teach me.
They'll leave each other better off than when you first met.
That's what I want you to do.
I love that.
And to actually be teachers, because at the end of the day, we're teaching people, whatever we're teaching. That absolute warm feeling, that emotion that you feel inside when your students start getting success. Correct?
Totally.
It's a feeling that unless you've stepped into that space, it's a very difficult emotion to explain. I wouldn't say it's difficult. It's almost impossible to explain that feeling that you feel in your marrow when you see one of the students that you taught being successful. It's like, I'm blessed.
It's like seeing your baby, growing up, or the tree you planted, or something you created. It's like incredible.
Correct. And you know what? I put that in a different space. That gives you immortality.
Oh, yes.
It's your immortality, because a lot of people think this mortality or immortality is having your children and your children following your name. No. It's that immortality of the people you've taught and what they do and who they are. That's immortality. It's a spiritual immortality as opposed to physical.
That's the best form of leaving a legacy.
Correct. It's that space. So in my journey to get to where I am, I've changed a number of careers. I've done some things right and I've done some things wrong. And I have 4 questions I ask my students to ask themselves in anything. And these are very powerful questions. What worked? And when it works, repeat and refine. And that's important, to repeat and refine, because what a lot of people do, they just repeat. No, you need to keep refining it, that it gets better. Why? Because it means that you are getting better. So first question is, what worked? Excellent. Repeat and refine. Second question, what didn't work? Stop doing that now. It's not working. Stop doing it. Simple example of that is, person realizes The smoking is killing me. Stop now. Not that easy. But in the mindset, literally saying, stop doing what's not working now. Question number 3, what lesson did I learn from this activity? Because that is very powerful, that you don't keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again, because you say, well, I've learned that lesson. Here's a red flag, step away. And question number 4, which is possibly the most powerful one and the one that most people struggle with. What do I need to do now? Not tomorrow, not next week, not in a month's time. What do I need to do now? And it gets back to that whole thing of action, taking the first step. Because what do I need to do now? Your payment. When you started, you didn't have this thing sorted. What version are you on of your course? Every course gets better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Each month, I created my program exactly 4 years ago, December of 2021, 3 years ago, sorry. And it's completely changed. Now I'm gonna tweak it again for the next challenge in January. Make it even better.
So have a guess. Let's say each time you've changed something, that's the next version. How many versions are you on after 3 years?
I would say easily, this is the 3rd version.
No, you're more than 3. You've had more than 3. I'm saying every time you've made a change.
Oh.
Doesn't even small change.
Oh,
you're more than likely up to 150.
I add things every class. So, and I don't know, I do my classes every 6 to 8 weeks. So you do the math. So 6 a year, 6 times 3, 18, at least 18 to 20 different variations.
There's the powerful thing of it. Think about it now. I'm actually saying to my students, how do I upgrade my students that did version 5 and now we're on version 10? How do you upgrade them? There's the challenge. That's why my accountability process is very powerful. Because also what I'm doing is in my book, I'm doing an audio session. So I can literally say to the guys, go to chapter 6 and listen to chapter 6. That'll upgrade you in what you haven't done. And here's the challenge with my book, because once you write, with a book, once you write a book, it's there. And now what do you do with the add-ons? Well, that's book 2. That's really what it is. Because literally you say, because my first book is going to be Activate Your Millionaire Mindset, Volume 1. Yeah. And on the back, it's going to say coming soon, Activate Your Millionaire Mindset, Volume 2. And I don't know if you know that mechanism of writing your next book. It's called ACT.
Yep.
You ask your audience what they want. What are their pain points? So you actually ask them and say, what are you guys struggling with? What are you struggling with? That's your next book. Because more than likely you've got the answers already. You just haven't been able to put it in your course. And I'm sure you deal with the same thing. Because my challenge is to actually get this course, because literally this course could run over 6 months.
Sure.
But it's got to be packageable for the students to be able to take it and get the results and start moving forward. So my challenge is when my business partner and collaborator said, David, we need to shorten the course. I said, my challenge is not what I put in the course. My challenge is what I leave out. And I'm sure you've got that same challenge, because I know you had that challenge in your course. You said there's this whole thing which you could run a course on its own.
Absolutely.
I mean, just going into Facebook groups and how you mine them and work them and do that thing, that could be a course on its own, correct?
Totally.
There's a book on its own. So that's where it's a very powerful process. Sure, Payman, I see we're getting near the end here. I didn't realize.
Yes, let's fascinating conversation. So if someone wants to connect with you, David, what's the best way to do so?
I will send you the links to my website, my LinkedIn, and my Facebook. Those are the 2 that I'm using.
What's your website? So for people that
it's davidyes.com. Please don't go there yet, because it'll only be live by about the end of January.
All right, cool. I'll put that in the show notes when they're ready.
davidyes.com. And then I'll send you on WhatsApp my Facebook link and my
Yes,
LinkedIn link.
yes, as in YES.
Yes.
Ah, I love that domain. That's beautiful. That's brilliant.
davidyes.com.
Love that. Love that. Listen, David, I salute you. You're treated with a heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world, your presence, your impact, your gift. And always remember, you are a gift, my friend. So keep sharing him loud and proud around you and around the world. I salute you until our next conversation. God bless, brother. Take care.
Thank you.
You're
Be
welcome.
the light.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.